Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Sagittarius and your moon in Taurus. I always like to use examples of famous people who have these sun-moon combinations because it gives a lot of you the opportunity to reflect on that person's personality traits and be able to see if it resonates with you and compare it. So the person that I immediately thought of was Jim Morrison. And one of the things that it's important to note is that when we're talking about personal planets or personal points, including, the rising sign, some of these traits can show up. It's almost like they are interchangeable. There will be subtle differences, but some of the basic themes will remain the same. The reason I say this is that I have the sun in Sagittarius and Taurus rising. So some of the characteristics that we associate with that can also come into play. But I'm not talking about the rising sign right now, which can be about appearance, mannerisms, and things like that. So in bringing up Jim Morrison, one of the things that it's important to note is that he was somebody with a very, who was very intellectual, but he also had a very self-indulgent side. And we can see that because his weight fluctuated. He, obviously he was known for his substance abuse issues and that kind of thing. But he was always this intellectual type of person, philosophical, maybe. It was funny, I just read something about him where he mocked astrology. So I was a little bit surprised by that, but then when I think about it, he never really talked about spiritual matters. So that kind of thing might have been true about him not believing in astrology. A lot of people who are intellectual think that astrology is a bunch of bunk. But anyway, this combination can be difficult in the sense that the person has two different ways of being that are pulling at them. So the sun, being the aspirational self, can be, very much associated with the world and how you are moving in it. So the goals that you want to accomplish and the things that you want to do in an outer sense. The moon is your emotional nature, and that can be like your emotional nature, your personality, and when I say personality, I'm talking about how your emotions shape your personality. The type of way that you react to life. That is part of your personality, obviously. If somebody is very hot-headed, they're going to be seen as a very volatile personality, for instance. So this can be, Sagittarius and Taurus form an angle called an inconjunction, which means that they're 150 degrees apart. So this is considered an awkward angle. We can't say that it's irritating like a square or that it's harmonious like a trine. It's like doesn't fit. And Taurus is an earth sign, and it's a fixed sign, so it's very stubborn. And then we have Sag, and it's associated with the ninth house and philosophy, expansion, travel, and they just don't have anything in common. So when somebody has this as their sun and moon, they may feel either like they're of two minds, that they have like totally different interests and things like that. And I, like I said, I have Taurus as my rising sign, and it amuses me because I love things of a very profound nature, especially spiritual nature, reading, esoteric things and blah, blah, blah. But then I like, reading trashy, autobiographies and biographies and things like that. So I have that side to myself that is that Taurus. And also the indulgent part, enjoying, maybe you are the kind of person who enjoys cooking, and you might be like, let's say you're a woman who is very independent, but in your love life, you definitely have this side to you that's very romantic and domestic. And you really feel that pull to do those, homemaking kind of things. If you are too attached to a certain aspect of yourself, like the sun sign can, be what we really identify with ultimately, it can feel almost like you might feel there's something wrong with you that you have that side to you. So you have to really honor that, even though it feels unnatural at times. The sun in Sagittarius loves to experience new things, not like Gemini, just for the novelty, for the sake of novelty. But for Sag, it's about expansion. It's about, it's the fire element, which is about always growing, being pro-growth. And because Sag rules the ninth house, and it has to do with philosophy and God and long-distance travel, depending on the Sag, it might be that they enjoy a lot of travel, and that almost substitutes for the religious or spiritual angle. The reason I say this is that we cannot say that all Sagittarians are going to be believers in God, that they're not going to be atheists. I bet you that there are some very ardent atheists that are Sagittarians, and the moon in Taurus is not going to tip it over in the other direction, because Taurus is an earth sign and the moon is an intuitive body, heavenly body, or I should say an intuitive influence on us. And that can make us people who have, I don't have this position, but people who do have it, skeptical about anything that is not tangible to them. I have the moon in Virgo, and this can also show up with any of the moon and earth signs, is that the person isn't going to just automatically believe something because it's in a book or because other people say it. They have to see it for themselves. And this can limit one's intuitive capacity for that very reason, because the things of the spirit are not tangible. Now, they may have tangible results if we choose to apply them in that way, but I'm talking about in and of themselves. And so that can produce somebody who is more interested in expansion. Oh yeah, another area would be through academia, because the ninth house that Sag rules is connected to higher education. So that person may choose to live a life where they are, that Sagittarian can choose to live an intellectual life, and that goes along with their expansion, but it has that kind of tangible element to it. Pieces of paper, degrees, that the moon in Taurus really likes to have as proof of whatever it is that they're doing. And also, I would say, and that's why I'm saying this about these kinds of ways of expressing one's expansion, is that with the moon in Taurus, there's a love of sensual things. So I kind of was smiling to myself thinking about somebody traveling, somebody with the sun in Sag who loves traveling to other countries, but they also love eating at fine restaurants in those countries. And that satisfies the Taurus part of themselves. This combination can lend itself to materialism because Taurus certainly is all about that, being the ruler of the second house of earned income and possessions. And Sagittarius being ruled by Jupiter, there's a material connection to Jupiter, providing those kinds of blessings or abundance on the material level. And there's a very excessive quality to Jupiter. So some Sages, especially if they are feeling emotionally off, they may indulge in retail therapy, where they're buying things that they might not need. And so that's something that you should definitely look out for if you have a tendency to do that, because it could be triggered by some kind of an emotional need that the person has. So this combination can sometimes, like I said, when I talk about the romantic side of life, it's possible that you are more traditional in terms of romance, and that you want to get legally married even rather than living with someone, because you feel that that is more stable, because with the moon is exalted in Taurus, by the way. So it is in a good position to have the moon there. It's just that working with the sun, it's kind of, weird. So on that level, it's kind of weird. But when we talk about the moon's position, it is exalted in Taurus. And this can make you very steadfast in love, whereas normally you might not be. Of course, you have to look at the Venus sign for more information. If Venus and or Mars are in signs like Capricorn, like Scorpio, it's possible that you will be attracted to earth or water signs with that moon in Taurus. Now, whether or not that is a good thing for you overall is a different story, because I do honor the sun above all, even if there are some conflicting plants and signs that seem to tip it into a different direction. But you might find that you are attracted to the earth and water signs, and if you find those signs too emotional or too boring, that is your key to looking elsewhere. Don't try, sometimes this is because with the moon in Taurus, you may want financial security, and that could lead you to choosing jobs that provide that over your emotional satisfaction, or what we would call your spiritual fulfillment. And the same thing with your love life. Somebody who is a very good provider, as they used to say, versus somebody that you truly love, who may not be that financially well off, or at least stable. So look at your motivations in love and see if they are producing the results that you're looking for. In terms of work, I could see this combination doing many different things. The moon is really just kind of like going to give you an idea of whether or not something resonates with you. So it's not necessarily going to choose the type of work that you're doing. I do think that anyone who has the moon and earth might be a good healer, and might go into the healthcare field, initially being interested in health, especially if the sun is in the 6th house, that could be the case, that the person is interested in the area of health and maybe gradually gets away from that into natural health because, like for instance, the 6th house, especially since it's ruled by Virgo, can be about that, whether it's natural diet, natural health, natural like herbalism, but also energy healing, anything. Although Sag, I don't think of as an energy healer in and of itself. It might be more with holistic health. And that's only if other factors support it. In general, being a teacher, maybe being somebody who writes about the food, I'm thinking of that Taurus angle for sure. Like I said, the reason I'm having a hard time with this is because of that in conjunction. There's so much disparity between, what these two signs represent that to bring them together is very difficult. Needless to say, I would definitely look at, what plants are in the 10th house, what sign is at the midheaven. But just thinking about Sag, you know what? A good one would be a yoga teacher because there's a physicality to it. And that satisfies the moon in Taurus. And then you have the Sag that is philosophical and interested in these philosophical thoughts. I mean, units of thinking, philosophies, I don't know. So anyway, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.